really cool program developing in the SEC.
For sure. All right. Let's go ahead and get to what?
Nothing. I just know where we're going next. And
Baylor.
It
Baylor versus Ole Miss, the Allstate Sugar Bowl from Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, which, as I said, Caesar did not stay there. So if you were wondering, Baylor won this one 21-7. Nobody got the point. And guys, I know we talk about this a lot on the show. If you're wondering why guys skip bowl games, this is like the epitome of the reason why. Ole Miss's third series, Matt Corral was sacked from behind, rolled up on. Afterwards, he couldn't put weight on his right foot. Obviously you could see him on the sidelines on crutches after that, watching the rest of the game. They had to bring in, they had to bring in freshman Luke Altmaier. Which what I saw of him, he looked pretty good. I know he had a tip pass. It was intercepted and returned for like a 96-yard touchdown, which is the longest in Sugar Bowl history, by the way. But it really felt like the team was kind of deflated after he went. I mean, understandably so. Obviously, I know they mentally they understand that they have to put one foot in front of the other and continue. But I know that's tough. I know Kiffin even said that he probably let the team down a little bit. He was really sad for Matt after that. But yeah, I mean, obviously I hate to see that. Best of luck to Matt Corral. We wish him a full recovery. Hopefully his draft stock is not affected too much. And he hopefully has a bright future ahead of him. Hate to see that for sure. But yeah, that's why you see this. That's why you see guys skip out on games, and I know they get flack for it, but at the same time, when you see stuff like this, I can completely understand it. So yeah, Jesse, let's start with you this time. What were your thoughts on the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest story was obviously Matt Corral, and I have not been shy about saying I'm not a Matt Corral fan. I'm not an Ole Miss fan. I'm not a Lane Kiffin fan. I'm not there. But I had a lot of respect going into this game that Matt Corral wanted to play it because he does have a high draft stock, or did, and I hope he still does. But he wanted to finish this out with his team and really be a leader on his team. And I thought that was so amazing. And knowing that something like this could happen and did end up happening to him, you could see his emotion on the sideline. Like I said, he was visibly sobbing on the sideline. And it just broke your heart. And I think you could see the way that it affected his teammates. He clearly is a leader on that team, not just for the offense, but overall a leader on that team, and kind of helps set the tone, helps people get their head right when things start to shift in momentum and ground that team. And so I think that was a huge, huge turning point. Had they not knocked out Matt Corral, I don't know that this game would have gone the way it did. My kudos to Luke Altmaier to step in as a freshman and come in a situation where you definitely did not think you were going to play, and to have to just take over all that responsibility, fill those very large shoes. It's not easy to do. And he did. He looked pretty decent. I mean, yeah, he had some flaws, but of course he's going to. He hasn't had a lot of time of possession at all. So kudos to him. But yeah, I mean, it's tough to see, right? Like you hate to see it. And unfortunately the defense for Ole Miss was just not able to shut down Baylor's offense. So we'll see what happens. Again, I hope Matt Corral's draft stock is still as high as it was. I think of someone like Tua Tagovailoa, who did get hurt right before, he went into the NFL draft. They were still unsure about how he was healing, and he was still drafted and is now a starting quarterback in the NFL. So hopefully that's the case for Mr. Corral as well.
And Tua had a really severe injury too, wasn't it? The hip,
bad hip.
It was a hip dysplasia, I think is what they was called. The whole thing just basically
it was just bad.
They compared that to like a car accident. It was really bad.
It was a bad hit too.
Yeah.
I just looked it up, guys. Matt Corral's this is an article that came out of SI 3 days ago. Matt Corral's injury was just a sprained ankle. So it shouldn't mess with his draft stock at all. So he didn't tear anything, nothing got broken. So he should be okay.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, and so I mean, like I know he's even said as much. Jesse, you were talking about him being a leader, and he's even said as much down the stretch. That's why he's played hurt. He's had ankle issues a lot of this year, but has played through them. And he talked about it. He was like, because the guys are looking at me, and I want them to see that I'm going to play tough. I'm going to play through stuff, and I'm going to be there, even when I don't necessarily feel my best. And I want that to be an example to them, being like, well, he's the quarterback, if he can do it, maybe I can do it too, just that whole mentality that he tries to bring to the whole team. Matt, what does that do to your team's psyche when the leader kind of goes down like that?
Well, I mean, we saw what happened in that particular game. It's hard to come back from that. This is a guy that is the nucleus of that entire offense. He's the guy that runs the plays. He's the guy that is leading the team down the field. And it's hard to recover from that. And, where was the quote? I just had it in front of me. Jerry and Ely said, quote, "We were devastated, but we still had a game to play." I mean, if it's hard to walk that back. And then for a freshman to come in, in the Sugar Bowl, to put the team on your back like that, it's a tall bill. There's not a lot you can do there. So kudos to Matt Corral for sticking it out. There's been a lot of discussion. I mean, Kirk Herbstreit just got himself in trouble a couple of days ago talking about how, these guys that are opting out should be playing. And there's been a lot of conjecture back and forth on what people should do and what they shouldn't do. But at the end of the day, and this is just my personal opinion, at the end of the day, it's a business decision. I can either safeguard my future, and I know I'm going to get drafted somewhere. And these guys they know exactly where they're going. It's not like they're willy-nilly saying, well, I'll go third round, whatever, it'll be fine. They know that which round they're going in. They know where their stock is. So it's a business decision. And we hate to say that because, college football is supposed to not be about money, but unfortunately, college football, like most sports or like most things in life, revolve around money. So in this case, Matt Corral gambled. It cost him, not too much, we hope. But I mean, you can't begrudge the kid, from making a business decision. It's like when people transfer, it's like when all those guys transferred from Tennessee last season. I wasn't real thrilled with it, but I also understood it's a business decision. Henry To'oTo'o going to Alabama hurt like hell, but at the end of the day, it was a business decision. He's trying to get to the league. The best place to go is to Bama to go get in the league. You do what you have to. I mean, it stinks, but it is what it is.
It's tough, right? Like I see both sides, obviously. I see you wanting to finish out with your team. I see, especially if you're a senior that is not going to the draft, you want to do well. You want to finish out. You want all of those guys that got you there to be there with you when you're on that field and give you the best chance of having a winning game to finish out your entire football career. I get that. I also get that it sucks because for teams like this who are not playing in a playoff game, they can sit out. Imagine Stetson Bennett saying, "I'm going to sit out," or Pickens, or imagine, God forbid, Bryce Young. Anybody that's playing in a playoff spot decide that they're going to sit out. That's not going to happen. That sucks. There's a natty on the line. So It is tough, right? Because the ones who are in the biggest game of their lives thus far don't get a chance really to sit out. They could, but they're not going to. And then the lower ones, they can get a chance to sit out. So I see it both ways. You're absolutely right. It is a business decision. There is a big chunk of change difference between going top 15 and going somewhere in the second round. Huge difference. And injury factors into that.
You know how you fix that?
How you fix it? Let's say I think you and me are on the same wavelength.
More playoff games.
Bingo! That's exactly what I was going to say. Make them meaningful.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen, nobody wants to blow out their ACL and lose draft stock because you got hurt in the Boca Raton Bowl. Like nobody wants that.
Ticket Smarter Birmingham Bowl.
Like nobody wants that. So make the bowl games mean something. And then if you get these rinky-dink, Sam's Garage Bowl in, I don't know, Portsmouth, Iowa, then okay, fine. You can opt out of that. Nobody's going to care. Right. But you can't opt out of the Sugar Bowl. You can't opt out of the Rose Bowl. You can't.
Right. And then at that point, you're talking about instead of, like top 10 teams in the country with people sitting out, you're talking about like, teams that finish 6-6 and are just barely making it and stuff like that. Those guys are probably going to sit out. Whereas these teams that have a shot at the playoffs, no matter what you make that number, if it's a lot more playoff games, or at least a decent amount more playoff games, you're not having that discussion. So, all right,